This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
The French press agency quoted the police chief of the province of Farah in western Afghanistan, saying that more than 100 civilians were killed by an American airstrike the day before yesterday. The Red Cross also reported that tens of people, including women, were indeed killed in air attacks while they were taking shelter in homes as battle was raging in western Afghanistan on Monday and Tuesday. These are the initial exclusive images that Al Jazeera obtained after the airstrike, which killed more than 100 civilians in the province of Farah in western Afghanistan.
When our team arrived in the villages,
they saw tens of bodies in two areas where the fighting took place. The areas were also subjected to airstrikes. The team also saw graves and bodies being buried. They learned from the people there that the Afghan Red Crescent, which was present in the area, was the first organization to help them. One of the Red Crescent men was killed along with all of his family, which included his wife, 5 daughters, and 3 boys, in addition to his nephews. They were at a house where they were apparently taking shelter from the airstrike.
Now we go to our bureau chief in Kabul, Samer Alawi. Samer, what are the initial reactions to this strike and its results?
نعم، بعد توقف القتال والقصف بدأت تظهر معالم الفاجعة التي حلت بأهالي فراح.
The signs of the catastrophe in Farah province in western Afghanistan have started to emerge after the fighting had ended. People there have a great deal of resentment. One can see the effects of this American attack on the faces of the people who are still in shock as they bury their dead. They continue to search between the rubble.
اكتفت بالإشارة إلى أن وفدا مشترك للتحقيق في الحادث وصل إلى ولاية فراه للاطلاع على.
The Afghan government did not condemn the attack. It only said that a joint investigation committee has arrived in Farah province to investigate the incident and to prepare a report. However, the governor of Farah province told Al Jazeera that tens were killed during clashes between the Taliban and Afghan forces backed by multinational forces. While this was happening, American and NATO planes intervened in an attempt to help the ground forces. These were the statements of the governor of Farah, but eyewitness testimonies contradict this account, saying that the airstrikes continued at least for 2 consecutive days. They have even started before the incident that the Afghan government has mentioned, in which 3 of its officials were killed by the Taliban. The Taliban executed them publicly. Therefore, it seems that the incident, according to locals, was more than fighting the Taliban in the area. It was an act of revenge. This incident raised a great deal of concern amongst Afghan and international officials. It also raised a great deal of anger in the province of Farah, where the incident took place. It seems that the airstrikes in Farah have stopped. Red Cross and local officials reiterated to Al Jazeera that the fighting and airstrikes have stopped so that the injured can be rescued and to allow the search for victims between the rubble to continue.
توقفت وعمليات القتال توقفت لإتاحة المجال لإسعاف المصابين والبحث عن.
The situation in Kabul is unclear. There is no clear strategy of how the government will deal with these new developments, especially when considering that the Afghan President Hamid Karzai is in the United States. He will meet with President Obama and Pakistan's President Zardari.
حيث يجري اجتماعات مع الرئيس أوباما والرئيس الباكستاني زرداري.
Thank you, Samara Alawi, our bureau chief in Kabul.
It seems that Iran was the focus of discussion during the Gulf Summit in Riyadh and the visit of the U.S. Secretary of Defense to Cairo. A series of diplomatic maneuvers have occurred across Arab capitals, including Cairo, which is an important diplomatic hub in the region. The Jordanian monarch flew yesterday to Cairo, where he discussed the outcome of his latest visit to Washington. Also, the U.S. Secretary of Defense, Robert Gates, stopped in Cairo, where he reassured Arab allies over his country's new diplomacy towards Tehran. Meanwhile, the Iranian president called on strengthening his country's relations with Syria. Fatima Tawil reports.
It seems that the Iranian nuclear issue was discussed in many Arab capitals in the region. Cairo, which hosted a Jordanian-Egyptian summit yesterday, called for an Arab unified stand in dealing with the new U.S. diplomacy toward Iran, saying it's an Arab, not Iranian region.
This is our response to the Western world. We have primary interests in this region too.
This is an Arab fear over Iran, despite the messages of reassurance carried by the U.S. Secretary of Defense, Robert Gates, to Cairo. Gates said that any U.S.-Iranian deal will not be at the expense of key Arab allies in the region. He talked about pursuing a cautious diplomacy with Tehran. However, the scene seems to be less convincing in Damascus, which hosted an Iranian-Syrian summit. The two nations agree that the Iranian-Syrian alliance is nothing but a factor of stability in the region.
The following point is linked to all issues on the table. Our ongoing and diligent work aims at improving the region, our region. This region, whether we call it the small or the great Middle East region, is where we live as countries and nations. We need to help it achieve independence and stability.
The Western blocs are weak at this time, and the world continues changing. What we need to do is to work on solving all issues in the region.
Like Iran, Syria is on the U.S. radar. The new U.S. administration's diplomacy with Damascus is not merely rhetoric. For the second time, Washington is planning to send Assistant Secretary of State for Middle East Affairs, Jeffrey Feltman, to Damascus. The visit aims at laying the groundwork for the new U.S.-Iranian relationship, which has been strained due to conflicting interests in the region.
We are joined from London by writer and journalist Abdul Wahab Bardakhan. Mr. Abdul Wahab, the timing of these diplomatic maneuvers between Riyadh, Damascus, and Cairo, was it a coincidence or a diplomatic game of balance between the political axis of the region?
It's a mixture of both. Without a doubt, the important thing is timing, meaning when will this U.S.-Iranian dialogue begin? This U.S.-Iranian rapprochement is causing concern in the Middle East, including in the Gulf Cooperation Council. Iran has started to play a key part in all issues in the region, including the Palestinian, Lebanese, and Iraqi ones. In addition to the security threats posed by armed groups in the countries of the region, the issue of sectarian strife has been gaining momentum, such as that between Sunnis and the Shiites.
U.S. President Barack Obama told President Shimon Peres that Israel's security is a top priority for the U.S. Peres was the first Israeli leader to visit the White House since Obama took office. The meeting set the stage for the visit of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in 2 weeks. IBA's Eli Wagalanter has the story.
Following President Shimon Peres' White House visit with President Barack Obama yesterday, Peres told reporters that there is no space between us and the United States. The meeting was scheduled for 20 minutes, but stretched to nearly an hour.
I think it was open, sincere, and I feel today reassured about the friendship between our two countries.
One of the main topics of discussion was Iran, with Peres telling Obama that the world has no choice but to compare the threat posed by Iran now to that of Nazi Germany before the Second World War. He added that Israel supports Obama's efforts to engage Iran diplomatically over its contentious nuclear program.
As long as the goal is clear, why not by all means? If you can achieve it by engagement, God bless you. As long as they don't exclude any option, let the United States select the order of things.
Peres told Obama that Israel is prepared to negotiate a peace settlement with Syria and the Palestinians, adding that the benefits of the process would outweigh the risks. After their meeting, the White House released a statement saying the president appreciated the opportunity to welcome President Peres in recognition of the enduring friendship between the United States and Israel. The president looks forward to his meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu later this month. Eli Wogelanter, IBA News.
Peres also made the rounds throughout Washington, including meetings with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Peres praised the ranking House Democrat, calling her a great friend. He said he, Pelosi, Israel, and the U.S. are all struggling for the same purpose, peace. Neither Peres nor Pelosi mentioned Iran and relations with the Palestinians. Pelosi also showered praise upon Peres, calling him an intellectual, a great visionary, and a fighter for peace.
To many of us here, a hero to all who know of him, and again, the personification of a strong bond between the United States and Israel.
Now, Israel says a United Nations inquiry condemning attacks on UN facilities during the war on Gaza ignored the facts that were presented to it.
The UN's investigation says Israel used disproportionate force that caused unnecessary harm to civilians and ignored UN immunity. But the Israeli president has now admitted Israel made mistakes.
Yeah, this was Shimon Peres speaking at the United Nations just a short time ago.
I admit we made some mistakes. I don't know any war without mistakes. And to let people understand what I mean a mistake, we wouldn't like to kill a single civilian, but war is terrible. And some of our own soldiers were killed by our own fire. Did we do it on purpose? What is the story is that a war is a mistake that produces mistakes.
Well, you'll remember Al Jazeera was the only international broadcaster reporting from inside Gaza during the war. Our correspondent Ayman Mohideen returned to some of the areas the UN investigated.
The United Nations report investigated 9 incidents that had significant damage to UN facilities, property, even causing death to UN personnel and civilians. And one of the most notorious incidents happened here at the UN Fakhura school in the Jabalia refugee camp. The Israeli military claims that Palestinians were firing rockets from this area, but the United Nations report says that was not true. This is the mark where the Israeli mortar shell landed. 3 shells landed in this open area. You can also see a fruit stand behind it and several shops. An indication that this open area is largely a civilian area. In fact, it's a busy street through the Jabalia refugee camp. On January the 6th, at the time of the Israeli shelling of the area, much of it is, as you see today, full of pedestrian traffic. In fact, it was actually a lot busier because hundreds had come to this area seeking refuge and fleeing the fighting. This shopkeeper here we spoke to was actually open on the afternoon of January the 6th. He saw what happened. In fact, I'm just going to ask him really quickly about that particular day. Assalamu alaikum. لو سمحت ممكن تقول لي ايش اللي انت شفته يوم 6/1؟
شفنا يوم 6/1 كنا واقفين هنا شباب وكانت المنطقة يعني زحمة
So he was telling us there that on that particular day in the afternoon, he saw no Palestinian rocket fire from the area. In fact, it was full of civilians at the time, many of them seeking refuge at that UN school. When the Israeli shells landed, it was a scene of chaos. He himself was injured, in fact, carried many of those that had been killed to the hospital, many of those as well that had been injured. You can see on the door here as well, here's a picture of one of the children killed on January the 6th. So according to the eyewitnesses here, the claim made by the Israeli government and the Israeli military that there was Palestinian rocket fire is simply false. That has also now been substantiated by the United Nations report, which says that at none of its UN facilities was there any evidence whatsoever of Palestinian fighting or rocket fire taking place. And at the same time, that is why the United Nations is calling for the Israeli government to be held accountable to pay damages in excess of around $10 million. Ayman Muhyiddin, Al Jazeera, in the Jabalia refugee camp, Gaza.
After a lengthy meeting in Cairo between the Egyptian president and the Jordanian king, the Egyptian foreign minister Ahmad Abu Ghaith said that Arabs are bothered by the Iranian performance in the region, not by the anticipated American-Iranian dialogue. U.S. Secretary of Defense Robert Gates also said in Cairo that the U.S. is trying to stop Iran's nuclear activities. We leave you with this report from our correspondent Sharif Fuad.
During the long meeting between the Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak and the Jordanian King Abdullah II, they discussed the outcome of the Jordanian King's visit to Washington, American plans to revive the peace process, and Iran's nuclear program. After the meeting, Jordanian Foreign Minister Nasser Judah said that the American administration is committed to a two-state solution. This is what the American president promised.
The American president, on more than one occasion, said that he is committed to a two-state solution and to finding a comprehensive solution to the Middle East problem. He is completely convinced that the key solution to other issues in the Middle East is resolving the Palestinian-Israeli conflict.
The Egyptian foreign minister, Ahmad Abu Ghaith, called on Israel to stop settlement activities. He also urged Israel to go forward with serious peace negotiations in order to achieve peace in the Middle East by establishing an undivided Palestinian state on all occupied Arab land. In terms of Iran, Abu Ghaith said that Egypt and the Arabs are bothered by Iran's performance in the region, not by anticipated American-Iranian dialogue. He added that the Arab view of Iran may change if it changes its performance.
Iran's performance in the region bothers us because they interfere in stable areas, aiming to create an unacceptable situation. They also try to use the Palestinian plight and other issues to deepen Iran's influence in the region. You must know that this is what we are saying to the West. We also have fundamental interests in the region.
U.S. Secretary of State Robert Gates met with the Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak during his trip to the region. After the meeting, he reiterated that the U.S. is working to stop Iran's nuclear program. He added that the U.S. will cooperate with what he calls friends to stop Iran's nuclear activities. He also said that the U.S. would like to keep the door open for Iran.
Obviously, we want to try and stop the Iranian
Well, obviously, we want to try and stop the Iranian nuclear program, but we are also interested in Iran's efforts to deepen instability in the region. I think there's a great deal of concern in the region about Iran's activities. Our objective is to continue our work with friends in the region.
The intensive diplomatic talks in Cairo gave significant attention to issues concerning Iran. There are concerns amongst Arabs about the U.S.'s openness towards Iran, which explains why the U.S. Secretary of Defense delivered a message of reassurance to Egypt and Saudi Arabia in particular. In addition, he denied rumors about an American deal with Iran.
Contrary to previous elections, liberals in Kuwait intend to compete in the elections as independents rather than with different coalitions as they usually do.
A scene that will not repeat itself, liberal candidates running with different coalitions. This is now a passing memory. In previous elections, they ran under 2 coalitions. One of them was made up of 4 candidates. 3 of them were successful. However, during the 3rd round, none of the candidates were able to win a seat in the parliament.
I
believe this is the best way to reconcile everyone's concerns, and this will be reflected in the results of the elections. Regrettably, in the previous elections, there was disappointment on many sides, and this was reflected in the elections and the results.
Today, the situation has changed. Liberal candidates that previously ran with different coalition parties have decided to run in the election as independents.
We, the executive committee of the coalition, were elected 1 week before the parliament was dissolved, and honestly, we didn't have enough time to evaluate our previous experience in the elections. Without a doubt, these elections are considered a step forward for the Kuwaiti political process. However, there were also reservations and negative feedback that we haven't had time to study, such as the process of choosing candidates and a political platform.
However, others believe this is all part of an electoral game.
I think that this is a better tactic. Joining a coalition of 4 means that the door is closed for the other candidates. In other words, candidates will have to fight with one another. Instead, they can all run as independents, but then, when they win seats in the council, they can agree to form coalitions if they have mutual ideas.
التباين في وجهات النظر بين مرشحيها حيال قانون الاستقرار المالي وإسقاط.
What weakens the liberals as a force is the candidates' differing views concerning financial stability, forgiving debts, and the so-called fair loans. These are central issues that affect a segment of the voters. The fact that some liberals differ on these issues confuses voters. Some observers have said that the biggest voter complaint was the exclusion of the Shiites and tribes from previous election coalitions, which were excluded to certain social groups and individuals. These practices compelled voters to vote for individuals rather than party movements.
سلمت الحكومة العراقية اليوم إيران مذكرة احتجاج رسمية على خلفية.
The Iraqi government handed Iran a letter of protest over the shelling of Kurdish towns in northern Iraq. The foreign ministry said it summoned the Iranian ambassador Hassam Kazemi Kumi in Baghdad to protest the shelling. Iraq said it understood Iran's need to secure its borders, but stressed that it should be done through contact and constructive dialogue between the two neighboring countries.
In a statement issued to Al-Iraqiya, the spokesman for Baghdad's Operation Room, Major General Qasim Atta, said that the Iraqi forces are ready to assume the security responsibility once the U.S. forces withdraw from Iraqi cities. Atta added that his command center will upgrade its security measures aimed at countering terrorist attacks.
وأيضا متابعة قيادة عمليات بغداد للعناصر الإجرامية.
We are ready to assume the security responsibilities. The command center of the Baghdad Operations Room will continue to pursue criminal elements that are seeking to destabilize the country by launching terrorist attacks. Security forces will continue to pursue the remaining terror cells in the country. We have equipped our military units with bomb detection devices. In addition, we will deploy the security forces across Iraqi provinces. In the coming period, we must focus on intelligence gathering and public cooperation.
Al-Mastar is a large square that is filled with vulnerable people who come out each morning, rain or shine, looking for jobs.
Each morning, tools in their hands, they wait for a stranger to offer them a job, hoping it will meet some part of their daily needs.
It's not a stock market, but you may refer to it as the job market of the unemployed. At this market, a large number of day laborers gather each morning looking for work, regardless of the type or nature of the work. By looking here, one may estimate the unemployment rate in Iraq. To most day laborers, the pay is not enough, and the hours are decided by the contractors, who often come here looking for cheap labor.
I come here looking for work. I couldn't find a job in my province. I didn't do anything to deserve this. I'm a young man who cannot find a job. I haven't seen anything good in life.
As God is my witness, there's no work for us here, and the contractors are capitalizing on this. We are supposed to get 30,000 Iraqi dinars a day, but they pay us only 10,000. Why? This is totally wrong.
A job opportunity that may or may not materialize. This is a fact that the day laborers must face. They wait for long hours, hoping that someone might stop and offer them a job. To make matters worse, foreign workers have joined the labor market, making it more competitive.
There's nothing out there. Sometimes 3 or 4 days pass before we find work. We are living under harsh conditions. We are unemployed, yet they bring foreign workers to work in Iraqi companies. This is not right.
Why are they employing foreign workers in Iraqi factories? Iraqi companies are importing workers from abroad. They are giving them Iraqi jobs. Iraqis are helping foreigners rather than their own people. They are bringing workers from India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. They are paying them well. However, the money we earn is not enough to make ends meet.
The London-based Conference on Investment and Opportunities in Iraq may help provide a solution to the staggering job market in the country by creating more sustainable jobs for Iraqi professionals. This may help reduce the number of day laborers in Al-Mastar, and in turn will lower the overall unemployment rate in Iraq.
We come to Al-Mastar looking for work. The job market is very weak. I work between 1 to 3 days a month.
The money we earn is barely enough for food and drinks. I work once a week. The job market is very weak. The money we earn, which is no more than 10,000 dinars, is not enough to make ends meet. There's no work. The situation is very bad.
We come here in the morning and stay all day, looking for work, but most of the time we do not find any work. God will provide for us.
It seems that Al-Mastar's market of the unemployed also has a stock index, which increases as the unemployment rate increases. Amidst this, the number of unemployed workers exceeds the number of jobs available in the market. However, one rule remains the same. God is the one who provides. From Baghdad, Muhammad Salam, Iraqiya.
Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/Mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. network dedicated to global and national news, uncompromising documentaries, and diverse cultural programs, programs which connect you to the world.